Ladies and gentlemen, we have a tremendous honor this evening. We're talking with the director of a movie entitled Ali's Comeback. He is a renowned director in his own right, but certainly regarding this very pivotal movie about a conscientious objection which led to the sacrifice of a wondrous career, Muhammad Ali, Ali's Comeback, the Untold Story. First and foremost, Mr. Jones, why did you get into the motion picture industry? It is a very difficult industry to be a part of. It would be far easier to get a government job. Why did you do this?
It became part of a natural evolution, beginning my early days as a teen engaged in art and having served under two phenomenal mentors in Harlem, New York. I was able to amass a pretty engaging artistic portfolio that won me a merit scholarship to the School of Visual Arts in New York City. That while at the School of Visual Arts, I began to dabble in photography as well as script writing, as well as some acting, as well as television production. SVA, which is how it's referred to today, was one of the first educational institutions in New York City to establish its own television production facility that was allowing students to learn the art and craft of TV production. And so I started out basically as a pencil artist that got involved with oil and then eventually transferred into still photography through a very good friend of mine, uh, this guy named Ira Wonder. He was a photo major. I was a fine arts major at the time. He liked my work. I liked his work. So we started exchanging each other's work, but we also started showing each other various tips about what our particular discipline was like. And from that, I actually, within a year's time, got secured a position with Model Cities, as well as freelancing for the Amsterdam News, which is essentially New York's equivalent to the Afro American in the Washington, D.C. area, as well as the New York Times, Muhammad Speaks, and I also did some work for the New York Post. But from that, I actually got more involved with television production by the time I was in grad school. This was the pivotal point because the FCC had mandated around 1974, 1975 that all since all of the major networks only pay $1 a year for their licenses, and the major networks then were CBS, NBC, and ABC. Fox did not exist, and they required now to at least 3 hours a week of educational programs. Thus, if you are old enough to remember Shore on this hour actually ran from like 7 in the morning to 2 in the afternoon.
Yep.
Were throughout the where you were able to see programs such such programs as those that had those that had young had at the and they provide them with life and that was created by my team or the team that I was working with is it came out of AC's uh, soliciting my director at College of Education to help them with this initiative. And we essentially put together an animated cartoon that was 5 minutes in length. It came on 5 minutes out of every 30 minutes of Saturday morning children's programming. And it became such a hit in such a short time that they came back, ABC that is, again and said, we want you to do something else. And the original program we did was entitled Multiplication Rock because
Yes.
we dealt with the multiplication timetable. And for Multiplication Rock, we started moving into such areas as language arts, and we started doing things such as nouns and verbs. And the most popular one was conjunction,
Con-
conjunction, junction. What's your
your
function?
function.
And button or will get you pretty far. Okay, these are these were the early programs I enough to be the A, and it just opened my eyes to the phenomenal impact that the audiovisual medium had to deliver rich, dynamic, engaging information to people. And when I ultimately got hooked.
Art Jones with us tonight. Um, Muhammad Ali, a phenomenal man, and you take Dream Factory together after a weekend and say that this is a movie that we must do. First and foremost, Dream Factory. What's your vision, your mission, your goals? What was your ideal of what Dream Factory would be? And then, secondly, do you feel it accomplished itself in the Ali Comeback, the Untold Story movie?
Oh, for sure. I think Ali's comeback is the ultimate aim of the kinds of projects that Dream Factory has been aiming towards for years. But let me be very honest. When we first started Dream Factory, I went from a $60,000 a year job to making $13,000 in the Washington, D.C. area. And much of what me and my team were working on then was helping people like you make your dreams come true. And we worked very hard, like people inside a factory, to make other people's dreams come true.
Yeah.
We did that long enough and often enough so that we could amass enough of a financial cushion, so to speak, to periodically go out and embrace some of the ideas that me and other members of my core team felt they would like to produce. And over time, there was less and less of the work that we did for outside sources and more of the work that we were doing by those who were internally involved with the team. And today, I would say this what started out as 75, or I would say 80-20, where 80% of the work that we did for other people. Today, it's more like 75-25, where 75% of the work that we do is for us or to take our ideas and what burns inside us in terms of stories that we feel are important to tell and doing our best to make them real.
Mr. Jones, Muhammad Ali, it's like an elephant. Where do you get your hands around? When you came to the idea of Muhammad Ali, what motivated you to say, you know what, I'm going to put my energies behind the untold story? Because it's very easy in the industry to do what everyone else did before and just try to make it a little bit better. What was the motivating factor between choosing the untold story?
I had always had a deep regard for Muhammad Ali because as much as he was a phenomenal athlete, and in fact, I feel that arguably he's the greatest athlete of the 20th century. I think that he was equally, if not more so,
Yeah.
a humanitarian. He was a human being who had character and who had principles and knew that there were certain lines that you could not cross with him. And 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 if so, he would make it abundantly clear that you needed to retreat. And conversely, there was when confronted, there were lines that he would not retreat from. And he would stand tall, he would be steadfast, he would be bold, and he would be unwavering in his position. Ali, when he did what he did by not stepping forward in 1966 to enter the draft, took a very bold position. We talk about this year being the 50th anniversary of the first landing on the moon. I think of what Ali did was the first awakening to the consciousness of young Black kids like me of what character, what manhood looks like, what it meant to be able to stand for those things or something, not those things, just something
Yes.
that matters so much to you that you are prepared to make whatever sacrifice that's needed in order to ensure that people respect you for it.
Now, Muhammad Ali, it would be very easy to say he did it completely on his own. That's the mythology. But in life, we never do things completely on our own. He's the 1960 Olympic champion in boxing. He goes on to knock out Sonny Liston. He's a world champion. His career is moonshot. I mean, he's like none other in the field of boxing. Power, speed, intellectual giftings.
It would predict when you go out.
Exactly. Oh my God, it was tremendous.
Yeah.
And he was able to box, fight, and synthesize in the ring. He could do everything. Then one morning, he's hanging around with Malcolm X, and his life changes. Can you speak about that?
It's interesting you should say that. The thing about doing documentary films that I find quite wondrous
Yes.
is that I begin with one preconceived notion about what the road ahead is going to be. And almost never do I wind up going down that road. And that's because of new information that I could never have imagined that comes to my attention that
Wow.
makes me shift course and go down another path. As to what you referenced with Malcolm X, I too, until 3 years ago, thought that Malcolm X introduced Muhammad Ali to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam. I could not have been more wrong.
Wow.
There's a gentleman named Abdul Rahman was in Florida when Ali was down in Florida training to just before his bout with Liston, and he's walking down the street in a African American community, and from across the street there's his brother that says to him that he should come to the mosque that evening, and that something very enlightening would be shared with him. He, out of curiosity, goes to the mosque, and that begins to radically change his life. What he heard and what he felt, and the camaraderie and the fellowship that he experienced among a group of clean cut, uh, decent, articulate, well spoken African American men in 1964 was opened Ali to an entirely new world that he had heretofore been totally unaware of. After he met Abdul Rahman and Abdul Rahman introduced him to the Nation of Islam, shortly thereafter, he went to New York where he became he became essentially the protege to Malcolm X. But
Hmm.
the original person to bring him into the Nation of Islam wasn't Malcolm X. It
Wow.
was Minister Abdul Rahman.
Thank you for
Okay.
educating me.
And I only knew that because he lived here in Atlanta. And as I began the process of assembling the various components that I felt was important to tell our story, I was led to him by someone who is of the Nation of Islam, who said, "This gentleman is the actual person who you want to talk to. With if you want to talk about how Muhammad Ali became Muhammad Ali and ceased being Cassius Clay, you need to speak to Minister Abdul Rahman."
He goes to Houston. One morning, he gets out of a limousine. He gets into the U.S. Um, military offices, and he is to swear in, but he chooses not to. What molded that change, that thinking, where he decided to sacrifice everything? And people don't understand. He was at the pinnacle of everything at that point. He sacrificed by saying that he would not be drafted.
I'm losing your audio.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm losing your audio.
Okay, I apologize. He's in
No,
Houston.
it's okay. I see your lips moving, but I don't hear any sound.
it, it comes with marriage. I see your lips moving, but I'm not listening. Um, he's in Houston. He goes to Houston, and he decides not to do the draft, not to go in the draft. Why did he make that decision? And why should
I think it
Americans
was,
be enthralled by his decision?
people are prepared to take up arms and commit ultimate sacrifice because they envision that at the end of the day, when all the smoke clears, even if they are down, that it would raise the lifestyle and the opportunities for their family, for their relatives, for their community, for their people. And by 1966, Muhammad Ali was firmly aware that African Americans had been fighting in America's wars since before the Revolutionary War,
Yeah.
and repeatedly found themselves subject to becoming cannon fodder and used as military tools to achieve aims. And excuse me for saying this, but I don't say this apologetically,
No.
to uh, continue to support and expand white supremacy in this land. And it made it, it created cognitive dissonance for him or any other African American in 1960 to don a uniform and to travel 10,000 miles away to kill other black and brown people for the sake of capitalist Uncle Sam. It
Mm-hmm.
and also given that he was the greatest athlete and had the greatest notoriety at that time, he clearly refused to be used as a pawn, as Joe Louis was during World War II, to encourage other young black men to don a uniform under the illusion that they were going out to fight for freedom, justice, equality that they would give to others. And by the time you came back home, you would see that rolled out, that red carpet of liberty that would be made available to you now. Well, as we all know, there was the GI Bill, which many African Americans who came back after World War II were almost exclusively eliminated from any of the benefits of that, while their Caucasian counterparts helped to create what we call the suburbs today. That GI Bill, along with FHA loans, allowed much of the urban suburban landscape that we know that of today to have its beginnings. So
Yes.
Ali was very cognizant of how he could easily be used as a pawn by the federal government to further the government's aims. And at the end of the day, black people who fought, risked their lives, came back suffering from PTSD and may have lost a limb or two would be relegated to the same position, which is within the margins of society that they had lived before they even left to go overseas.
We're talking tonight with Art Jones. We have to go to a quick commercial break. Um, it, I told you, sir, that you will be off the air now, uh, but we ain't even gotten to to scratching the surface. Would you bear staying with me just a little bit longer so we can talk about your great movie and as well promote your event in Washington D.C.?
By all means.
Thank you ever so much, ladies and gentlemen. A tremendous honor. You can tell I got a lot of glee on my face. Uh, we have Art Jones with us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Great movie. Ali's Comeback, The Untold Story. We'll be right back.